Hello everyone. Like Matt said, my name is Kate Letizia. Great pronunciation, by the way, Matt. So I'm getting asked a lot. I thought I'd just share a little quick bit about me before I get started and where I'm coming from to come do this work, which is the next slide, Matt. So I am born and raised in Calgary. Don't hold that against me. It is arguably one of the hardest places on earth to work on climate change. So I've got a lot of good experience I've built up. I've lived in lots of other places all over the world. Now I'm in Nelson. I'm super excited. I've been visiting Nelson since I was a kid. I've got a really strong connection with this place, so I'm really happy to be here. I've studied international development and natural resource management, so basically the intersection of poverty reduction and environmental health. I have been doing environmental and social issues strategy work for over 10 years, all the sectors. Some of the fields I've been in include homelessness, informal recycling, food waste prevention, social innovation, and lately climate change is my thing. And you'll find me at the intersection of all of that stuff a lot. I'm a big intersections person, and it's all connected. And I'm passionate about creative, empathetic, and representative citizen engagement. It's gonna happen here. We'll build our plan. Next slide, thanks, Matt. All right, so climate change action planning, that is what I'm here to do. It is my job to lead the City of Nelson's response to climate change, to respond to the local scientific data and to community concerns and experiences and interests, to develop a collaborative, comprehensive action plan. We need to reduce our impact and we need to reduce our risk. Climate change action planning is an opportunity for communities to shape their own future instead of have it shaped for us in the face of global and local change. More than 70% of climate change reduction measures and up to 90% of adaptation measures are currently being undertaken by local governments just like ours. Next one, please. Continuing on that same thought, why cities, why Nelson? I am getting asked that a lot since I arrived. Climate change doesn't have borders. This is a big issue. Emissions are coming from other places. What can we do here in Nelson? And this is the answer I wish I had in front of me every time I get asked that, so I'll give it to you. Of course, we know that climate change is of urgent global and local concern and relevance. This is also an issue that's been on the side of desks for too long. And 70% of the world's cities are already dealing with the effects of climate change, and nearly all are at risk. Cities also consume, which is where our responsibility continues to come in, 70% of the world's primary energy, and we're responsible for 70% of global energy-related emissions. That's sort of where our responsibility comes in, but there's the opportunity that we have to think about. We are going to be able to design, like I said, build our own future and develop contextually appropriate climate change solutions for Nelson if we take this problem into our own hands. And thankfully, research is telling us that a critical success factor for moving forward on international climate change targets and imperatives is to take action locally. It is more efficient, it's more cost effective, and if initiatives develop locally, have a higher chance of success. I really like this quote I picked up on trying to explain this to somebody else. Local government is on the front line and is responsible for taking a wide range of decisions that can make or break the success of any international strategy on climate change. So not only do we have to play our part internationally, we have to figure out what to do locally that's going to work for us. We've got a lot of responsibility here. Okay, next. So I can only really speak to the overarching approach that we're going to take to build a climate change strategy for Nelson because it's early days yet. I'm only about a month and a half into the role. It's a 2-year contract. We'll see how I do. But I do know right off the bat that I have been tasked with leading the strategic planning process for developing policies and programs, so I like to call those actions, aimed at both reducing, which is mitigating Nelson's GHG emissions, and adapting to the impacts of an already changing climate. Many people who work in the climate change field talk about those two things separately, mitigation and adaptation, and they plan for them separately as well. Instead of avoid and cope, it sort of becomes avoid or cope. More and more, however, research is showing that these two streams of work should be addressed concurrently. both to avoid conflicts between them and also to benefit from the efficiencies and the synergies that can be gained from a more holistic approach, which you can see from this diagram here. There's your mitigation actions, there's your adaptation side, but in the middle is where some really interesting co-benefits pop up, and that's where we can do some really interesting work that is more efficient and cost-effective, and it makes sure that we're not doing mitigation efforts that will make things worse on the adaptation side, or adaptation things that will make things worse on the mitigation side, which has happened a lot in the past when we're looking at the two things in silos. So in order to capture these synergies, we plan to work in that middle space as much as we can here in Nelson. We'll be using a framework called low carbon resilience, which means that we want to be a resilient community at the same time as a low carbon community. And that's what we're sort of going for. We will be making sure to learn from previous successes as we go forward. We're going to be looking at existing relationships and planning processes instead of starting everything new. I promise a lot of amazing work has already been done, and we're going to be creative and innovative, and we're going to be looking at as much cross-sectoral collaboration as possible. Okay, a little bit more about the approach. This is sort of where I'm coming from. Some other mental models and frameworks that I plan to use to inform the plan going forward. Systems thinking. I like to remind people that climate change is not just an environmental problem. It is a complex, rapidly shifting, multi-stakeholder, environmental, social, and systems problem, and economic problem. The whole system and all of their intersecting parts have created the problem and must be part of solving it. I also like to borrow from human-centered design as much as I can, and that's all about solving complex problems with a focus on empathizing with, designing with, and testing with the people that need to be involved in the solutions instead of doing it for them. And then solutions actually work, is what I've experienced. And we're going to have a bit of an impact feasibility bias, which means that various pieces of research and engagement are going to inform this plan. And when it comes down to figuring out how we're going to go forward, the major criteria, amongst many others that we'll come up with together as a community, are going to be what is high impact, what is high feasibility. And we're going to start there. Okay? So I have to speak really quickly to some of our previous successes and the wide and vast variety of existing planning and partnership work that has already gone on here in Nelson. I said to someone the other day I wanted to come and work on climate change where the energy was, and then I was like, oh, there's too much energy here. It's full on, which is awesome. I'm kidding, it's great. So much foundational work has been done and will be informing this plan as we move forward. This is just a snapshot of some of the things that have happened, led by the City of Nelson and in partnership with many other groups. You'll see many plans and strategies that are sort of going to be the foundation of this new climate change plan to be developed. Those are only our ones related to climate change and energy, never mind the many we have related to other subjects that intersect. Many commitments that we've dove into, one very recently with Eco-Society, moving forward to work with them on 100% renewables. And as you can see, just a short list of some of our more recent infrastructure and programs related to both mitigation and adaptation. And the list goes on and on. Okay, and partnerships. Like I said, this is going to be collaborative, cross-sectoral. These are 4 partners that we're already working with on some really cool stuff. Selkirk College has a climate adaptation and innovation initiative going on right now, and we are a part of that. We're trying to make sure that we can develop sort of shared regional responses to climate change and to adapt together. We're working with Eco-Society, like I said, on their 100% renewables plan, 100% renewable energy by 2050. And we are working with Simon Fraser University. We have become one of their case study communities in BC for moving forward with a low carbon resilience framework. They'll be supporting us doing that, which is exciting. And we just signed on with BCIT to be a pilot community for their EcoCity footprint tool, which is very exciting. That's something we might think of using to sort of track how we're doing in the future as we go forward. And I'm just getting started. All right, so next time you see me, there's going to be way more logos up there, I promise. Okay, I'm almost finished. Milestones. Like I said, it's early days yet, so I have to be pretty vague about where we're going. I have a year to develop a comprehensive community-based climate change plan for Nelson. So there's a lot going on. This is only year one. Year two will be when we start implementation. Phase one is where we are right now. That's all about sensing the system. This is where I take the time to develop a very thorough, and like I'm taking the time, I promise, an empathetic understanding of the local context here in Nelson, the geographies, the politics, the people, the relationships, everything that defines it. This phase is really allowing me to gain some real insight into that system that is Nelson and the actual issues that need to be addressed here to make progress on climate change. We can't just say, let's fix climate change. We're gonna have to dive a bit deeper into it. And of course, I'm learning lots more about the work that's already been done to make headway. Next is phase two, understand the problem. This is where I'm going to be working a lot more intensively with local subject matter experts and community to develop a very specific and shared understanding of the problem or the problems that we are going to tackle here in Nelson when it comes to climate change, the data that needs to be used or found, if it's not there already, to inform this understanding now and into the future. And we're going to be working together to also develop sort of a vision of what the future needs to look like in Nelson once we've addressed these core problems. Next is explore and ideate. That's where we will be getting together to co-design some high impact, high feasibility climate solutions. It is during this stage in particular that we're going to be asking for a lot of community involvement. Like I said, solutions built with the people that are going to have to implement them instead of for them tend to work better. So we're going to take that road as much as we can. And that's going to be a really exciting time in plan development. So look out for lots of opportunities to get involved. Then finally materialize, that's where we're going to use those different lenses and those different principles and criteria to pick the actions that we're going to move forward with and the systems and processes that might need to be utilized or shifted to ensure that we're moving forward in a really collaborative, integrated way as a team, and figure out as well how to monitor and iterate over time. And then I've been saying lately, rinse and repeat, and we'll start it again, but I won't use that joke again. I think that might be it. I hope I didn't go too much over time. Do you want to get involved? If you are an organization or an initiative that wants to explore partnerships or alignment opportunities, please get in touch. Like I said, I want more logos on that partnership slide. I will warn you that I am getting a tremendous amount of email, which I'm sure you're all facing too in your daily lives. So I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you are an interested citizen, I absolutely promise you that there are going to be multiple opportunities to get involved, to help build actions either intensively or like as you walk down the street online. We're going to try to find all sorts of different avenues to get in touch. So keep your eye out for those. And I might also say, because I've been learning so much about this amazing ecosystem here when it comes to climate change, there are so many local nonprofits and movements doing really awesome work, and a lot of them are out there right now. So that's another amazing way to get involved as a citizen right now, because I'm talking to those people all the time. So that's what I'm going to be up to, and that's how you can get in touch. And yeah, come chat with me after this if you have any questions.
Thanks a lot, Kate.